Welcome back to SJG Perspective. I wanted to get a video up today about. I didn't get to this on Saturday stream, and it was a video that CNN put out with Don Lemon, and Chris Coma, Coma. When you're in a coma, yeah, Coma, Chris Coma, or Coma, whatever his name is, Fredo. About them just ripping on Donald Trump and on the black vote, right? On the African American vote, and how Trump really isn't gaining any votes there or percentage there, which is an absolute lie. So we're gonna jump right into that. But before we do, please remember to hit that like button and share this out on your other social medias and tell everybody about this channel to get them here. And if you're new, please hit the bell notification to make sure that your bell notification and all your notifications on your phone are on. So you'll always be, kept in the loop when I go live. So, all right, let's jump into this article here. Or not article, rather, this video. This is, we'll start it, and I'm just going to pause it out on a few spots and do what I do.
Bolo, be on the lookout for a new Washington Post Ipsos poll that shows 90% of black Americans disapproving of Trump's job performance, 83% believing he's racist. Now, Trump thinks the economy will boost him with those voters, but blaming both sides for violence in Charlottesville and so much other ugly talk matters. Bolo, some things matter more than money.
Bolo. Why does he think that's so cool? Be on the look. He probably doesn't learn what that meant.
Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. But before you party, CNN Tonight with D. Lemon right now.
I'm D. Lemon.
I'm breaking down that poll. It's an Ipsos, Washington Post Ipsos poll. We're going to break all of that down.
Okay.
But what happened to all of these polls that they're pointing out saying, well, the president's numbers among African Americans, they're growing. He's 35%. We know better than that.
Do we know better than that? You know better than that, huh, Don? And we need to believe you, Don, because you're so trustworthy, right? I mean, there isn't any of those other, I bet you couldn't hardly find a poll around here or an article that talks about him surging with black voters. I mean, I bet you that's just not even something that I would take time for me to Google. It'd be really even worth it. But you're probably right, Don. I'm just going to trust you on this one, and it's probably not true, right? He probably isn't voting or polling higher with blacks, and that coming from a non-partisan guy like yourself, independent, or a very middle of the road, non-biased person like yourself. I'm just going to take your word for it.
Well, look, here's what he's got going for him. If he can get 19 African Americans to vote for him, it'll be a boost. It's a little bit of a relative assessment, but the idea that...
Can you believe these guys? And what an absolute backdoor, soft, racist, a reverse kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? The soft... bigotry of low expectations and whatnot that black people would ever vote for Trump. I mean, if he gets 19 of them, he's doing good. I mean, just 19. I mean, there's not black people that are going to vote for him. This guy is ridiculous.
Nobody's been better for the blacks than I have.
Oh, please.
They know what he said.
Blacks.
They know what he encourages.
I know you are saying the blacks because he said.
Now watch Cuomo's face on this as Don Lemon, Mr. Ivy League educated, come from the Upper West Side, comes from money, right? Comes from upper class. He tries to relate with those black people, and he tries to relate with the black man, and he's gonna try to pull on his black card, right? Pull the black card right now, and put a little spanking on Como, on old Fredo right now. And Fredo gets nervous and like, oh no, what am I gonna do? And laughs and tries to play it off, and it's so fake and plastic. Watch this.
Because I have never in my life heard you say the blacks.
I know, but that's what.
No, I mean, because I would know, because I'm not racist, bro. Like you're my friend. You're a black man, kind of, but you're a black man. I mean, blacks love you. You're super rich. Blacks love you. I'm sure, Don.
What I would do to you if I ever heard you say the blacks. There would
look at that face. Like, oh, I can't believe I said that. Oh man, yeah, give me some props here. Oh.
be a footprint.
There'd be black
So-
eyes. There'd
There
be
would-
two
no,
blacks,
it would
two
be a
black
shoe
eyes on
print
my face.
so big on your rear end.
Would it be a shoe print on your rear end? Is that what you really mean, Don? Or would you pin him up against a wall in the back of a bar and, give him an ultimatum, if you know what I mean?
But that's the talk. That's the talk he talks.
I know. That's
Now,
what he
and
says.
Look, some people say, oh, it's generational, Chris. Whatever. He's president, man.
It's
You got to
not
be the best of
generational.
us, not the residue of the rest of us.
Oh, we got to pause right. You got to be the best of us, not the residue of the rest of us. He acts like he's got to throw in these quippy, cute little one-liners, that just show how hip he is and how right on he is and just how much better he is than the rest of us, man.
Well, ignorance is not generational. I mean, if you're the president of the United States, you should have people educate you. You should want to be educated. You should be.
So saying the black vote, right? That's super ignorant. The black vote, that he's polling well with the blacks. That's a should he say African Americans then? Because I thought you guys did. I thought the black people didn't like African Americans either. They're just Americans, right? But you happen to be, obviously, this is a contentious subject with us because of these kind of guys that make it as such. The left and the Democrats that constantly are pulling the race card, constantly are inflaming racism, constantly are inflaming racial tensions. It's something that is nonstop with the left.
Be calling people the blacks. You shouldn't be yelling out, "Where's my African American?" What else do you have to lose? By the way,
So wait, now he can't say, where's my African Americans? He can't say blacks. He can't say African Americans. What's he supposed to say? Where are my people that have a little darker pigment in their skin and are really good at sports and whatnot? And, where are those people at? What is he supposed to say? Huh? So do you think he was being racist or ignorant because he said that? Or are you, again, inflaming subtle racial tensions with your rhetoric?
the way, that phrase, if you look into the poll and you read the Washington Post story, it turned off so many African Americans. And in that
poll, the Washington Post poll, right? In that poll that I'm sure was really absolutely unbiased and not tainted and trustworthy because it came from the Washington Post.
African Americans say this economy that he touts so much and says that he's responsible for, they don't believe he's responsible for it. They do give credit to the former president, Barack Obama, for the.
How do you know that? How do you know that? And as Fredo's going to say here in a minute, that credit should be given to the president when the economy's doing well. So whether they do or they don't, doesn't really matter because he is responsible for it. And then also, Don, where's your information on that? I'm just supposed to believe you because you're so trustworthy.
Economy, and they say pretty much
it doesn't matter
they give credit
anyways.
more than anything to themselves for the economic responsibility,
Working
or
hard,
for working,
picking up savings,
Yes, there
finding
you go.
different avenues. No question about it. Personal industry is the best
Yep.
industry in America. Look, I have no problem with the president getting credit for the economy. When the economy's good, the president benefits. When
Yep.
it's down, he loses no matter who's responsible. But the idea that the economy eclipses everything else, that's what they're arguing now about impeachment. Can't be abuse of power. It can't impeach him because the economy's good. One has nothing to do with the other, and especially with minority groups. You say people of color should go back where they come from. You know what he called countries that have predominantly brown.
Time out. When did he ever say people of color should go back to where they came from? Again, Fredo and CNN are lying to you. He never said that. He said if you're not happy here, if you don't lie, if you don't believe in America first, if you don't believe in our Constitution, if you're not happy living in America, maybe you should go back to where you came from if it's so much better. That was the full context, of which can't be argued. That's the truth. Then he said,
skinned people in them. You know where we
S-hole
talked about
country.
it.
talking about how he banned dark people of darker skins. Nope, that was the Muslim ban they're talking about, and that was for a short amount of time, banning people from jihadi extremist countries until we could get a grip on who was coming in, so we could make sure that our country was safe from bringing in and importing a whole bunch of extremist Muslims that were going to wreak havoc here in our country, just like they've wreaked havoc all over the UK and in Sweden and in Norway and in all over the, in Australia and other places where there are no-go places, right? So that's what he was saying. Again, totally taking it out of context and being absolute a-holes.
Immigrants.
Yeah. So listen, as a person of color who has this particular platform, and you remember what happened. You remember when I said the president?
He's got to use person of color lightly. Yeah, he's a black guy, right? But come on, you really expect that just because you got some darker pigment, Don, that anybody's going to really say you can relate with the black community? Look at your platform. Look at where you went to school. Look at how you were raised in an upper class affluent family. Give me a break.
The President of the United States was racist. I open up this show by saying that. I got a whole lot of guff, but you know, by saying that. I got a whole lot of guff, but you know what? The President of the United States was racist. I open up this show by saying that. I got a whole lot of guff, but you know what? 90% of African Americans believe that.
90% of them believe that the president is racist, and he got a lot of guff for saying that. Can you show me where those polls are? The 90% believe that he's a racist, Don? Can you show me where that poll is? Can you show me where you got that information from, or are you pulling that straight out of your bungholio butthole? Because I think that is what you're doing. You're used to pulling stuff out of there, so this might just be where you're pulling those numbers from. That probably will give me a little guff.
And feel that in this country. And I speak for those people, especially with the rhetoric.
Oh, I speak for those people. Please give me a break.
Coming out of the president's mouth. So there you go. And now the polls back it up.
Now we'll see. We'll see what the voting does. We'll see what the Democrats can do to harness the needs, not just the animus.
This isn't about a Democrat or a Republican thing for people of color. This is just about living in America as a black person.
That's right, but as you well know, a lot of African Americans believe that sometimes they vote for Democrats as the lesser of two bad choices.
Yeah.
And
wait a second, only blacks do that? Only the blacks or the African Americans do that? Don't all Americans usually are faced with that same conundrum, if you will, that we're voting for the lesser of two evils? Why is that only a black thing?
While it's true that they predominantly do vote Democratic across the country. And
because they're lied to predominantly through their local leadership, their local governments, and their mainstream media, and they think that Republicans and conservatives hate them and are racist. So of course that's typically how they vote. But that's changing, and that is changing.
And now this argument will be, as it is every election cycle, look what those inner city communities are like. This is what Democrats have done to you.
Because it's the truth. And he's going to go on to say this is a very disingenuous argument. Really? Prove to me how this is disingenuous when you see these inner cities that are just absolute shitholes, what their ruling government typically is, right? From state and city type governments are. They're very liberal, very, very left-leaning liberal governments. That's just a fact.
Disingenuous because the pressure comes from the top down. But I still think African Americans and
if the pressure comes from the top down, then why are all after Obama being in there for 8 years, how come all the inner city stuff then didn't change? How come all the inner city and those problems didn't change or make leaps and bounds? How come Baltimore has the highest gun violence rate in the country, right? In the country. And is one of the most dangerous places in the country, and it was ruled by a black, liberal, hardcore liberal, congressman. His district for how long? And the city leadership is crazy Democrat. How come that wasn't cleaned up then? You're saying that's disingenuous. How's that disingenuous?
and a lot of other minority communities and some white communities that feel disaffected, that the system is against them, who will win those hearts and minds?
Yeah. Well, they may sit at home.
Here's
and
the whopper.
The turnout may be suppressed.
That matters.
Because
the turnout's going to be suppressed.
If they're not inspired by the candidate. But I tell you who they won't vote for. They won't vote for the party who has a leader that says there are very fine people on both sides.
Yep.
Oh, man. And there it was. There it was. The comment of all comments he leaves you with. That's the comment that Don Lemon continues to lie about and continues to put out there on every chance he gets. Talking about the president and what he did when in Charlottesville, talking about there was good people on both sides, and them inferring that he meant that the white supremacists were some of those good people. When if you play 30 more seconds of what President Trump said in that speech, which always gets cut out, he explicitly denies and says, "I'm not talking about white supremacists. They should be condemned on all fronts." He wasn't talking about white supremacists when he said there was good people on both sides. So, Don, you're the one who's being a liar and a disingenuous and doing the very thing you continually always prove that you do. You point the speck out in everyone else's eyes while you have a plank sticking out of your very own. It's what the left and the progressives do nonstop. Whatever they're accusing somebody of, you damn well sure know that is exactly what they are the most guilty of themselves. Until next time, it's SJG Perspective. I hope you guys have a great night. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And without fear and animus, we will talk to you later. Bye.